Hello and welcome to Pilot Training 101. So today we're going to be going over the very basics, starting with the LAT system, the interior of the cockpit. Now this video is mainly for those who are brand new and even returning pilots. So today we're just going to go over some of the basics, takeoffs, landings, and maybe show you what I do in a little bit of an air-to-air combat situation as well as air-to-ground combat. So, as you can see on the MFDs in front, or the displays, we've got simple things like start engine. Now, this function itself normally starts up anytime you get into a LAT, but sometimes if it doesn't, you click it twice, or click it once. You'll hear the LAT start up, but we're not going to worry too much about that for now. We're just going to get you guys with some of the other functions of the LAT. So to make it stop, we double click it. Now with this particular MFD or display, to select any one of these functions, you use the directional stick on this hand. Then what you're going to do is, to use said function, you got your trigger. So we got our two guns on the main front. There are other weapons, but you need a co-pilot for that. This function, for example, excellent for engaging air-to-air combatants, aka enemy vehicles. It does have a few limitations with regards to lock-ons, and the missiles themselves can be easily flared off by an experienced pilot. Speaking of flares, on this screen here, which is controlled by the thumbstick in this hand, you got your flares. You can hear it, you hold it down, you can launch flares. You do get a limited supply, however. These functions here aren't really all that useful currently, but mainly for aesthetics. Doors and the back door. All that does is open up the back ramp, and that just opens up the side door. Jump lights. Now, this is another function that I personally don't use because I am usually in comms with everyone in the back. However, you turn it on. We'll just jump out here. Go through the back and you can see the whole section behind here is red. We'll just turn the engine off again. And that function turns it to green. Now the auto hover is kind of obsolete, as when you do attempt to use it and you let go of both your control stick, which will be this hand here, as you can see. I can do movements, got the pedals down there for the rudder. So say for instance, I want to do a sharp U-turn, and yet I'm holding a steady hover, I can just go like that. Or, if I want to roll, you go like that. Up, down, functions, basically just changes your pitch. This is one of the last, well, useful functions, I say. This is the repulsor lifts, or vertical angle. As you can see there, with the trigger button here, I push it forward, I get forward thrust. I pull it back, I can get forward thrust and lift. Or I can go for a pure lift if I am trying to hover in a spot and engage any ground targets or even air targets. But usually I like to go for a 45-degree angle when I'm flying around, therefore I can get lift and also forward movement. Music function isn't really a good function. You don't really need to use it. It's just there for aesthetics. Don't really know what it does myself, as well as the nose art. So we're going to start up. We're going to pull this back to a 90 degree. Now, always on takeoff, have the repulsor lift selected, and you can always just have your guns selected as well on this side. It is just a preference. I always go for a 90-degree down angle for the repulsor lifts, especially on takeoff. And what you're about to see here, got the controls here, make sure that my hand is nice and centered. Now the handy thing is with the lats, you can hold your controls to your side like that, or you can hold it how you would normally in a real jet. You can hold it here. I always recommend sitting down because you're going to be moving and we don't want you falling over. So if you've got a chair or a bed, always have this hand on your knee, preferably towards the end, so you can still go like that. But theoretically you can hold it every which way you want to as long as your hand is straight. So we're going to start elevating up. I'm going to start with a slow power increase. Now, one thing when you're a pilot, you are going to have people in your back. Now, most of the time, people don't get motion sickness, but as you can see, I am trying to fly a little more carefully. If I have people in the back, I don't want them throwing up, because it will not be fun for anyone. And I always maintain a -5-degree down pitch, so we're gently moving forward. Now we've got a landing area here which I'm going to try and use. You don't have great field of view, so you're just going to have to kind of guess it. Gently build up the power as you're coming into land, and gently put her down. Now we did clip something, so theoretically you do kind of want to maintain a sort of level, but this would still be acceptable. Now, during a combat situation, I've got people in the back, right? So say we're getting shot at a little bit, but that will be more or less from behind. As long as you're low enough to the ground, you should still be able to get people out like this. But you always want to maintain the slow speed. Now, say I'm empty, for example, you can then open up the throttle. Use your repulsor lifts to your advantage. Like here, for example, say I've got somebody down there camping my guys. You can do ridiculous stuff like this, and it confuses and can scare the living daylights out of your enemy. You also have to forgive me for my voice. I'm currently suffering with a cold, so hopefully I will do an updated video for all you guys. Also, congratulations for joining the pilots. So what we're going to go over next is the case of you're running out of ammo, right? Now, me personally, I will only return back to base to rearm if I know that there's no one around any of the guys that dropped off. So say we've got a couple of guys up on the ridge here, they're friendlies, but they're getting shot at from that mountain over there. Now I'm out of ammo, but the enemy doesn't realise that. So we're going to go in for a bit of scare tactic. Right, so we're going to divert their attention to us, maintaining visual with the enemy. And that will also give our guys some time to get to the enemy's position, because they would be so distracted by flying close to them. You present yourself as a target, but sometimes you've got to be unpredictable, do little things like that, fly away, come back around and do the same thing. One thing you will learn to do as a pilot, though, is learn to accept that you're inevitably going to get shot down, you're going to get a crash. You know, it's always a constant thing. You're not going to always be perfect, but you're not always going to be bad. Like there, I clipped it, but you're going to learn how to save it. So your instincts, your reactions will take over. You come back around, you think of a different angle and how you're going to do it. Now, this also brings us to the point of knowing what threats to engage and what threats aren't really going to be a threat to your squad. It isn't necessarily about engaging the threats that are a threat to you as a pilot. You got to think of the guys on the ground, what's their best odds, and how you can even them out. So I'm going to say a situation here. Say I've got a couple of enemies that are converging on our guys on that hilltop there. Now, our guys have the advantage because they'd be on the ground or maybe trying to shoot long range. But say you've got a sniper over there, he's getting shots down, you know, and then you suddenly see the enemy gunship coming into your guys. Now you've got guys on the ground that are approaching your guys. Who do you engage? Who is the bigger threat? Now, of course, you might think that it could be the enemy gunship, but the enemy gunship could be trying to drop troops off somewhere back there. Your guys are right here, so the threat is closer to them. But as a pilot, you can learn to engage both. So say I come back around, you know, I'm not going particularly fast, I'm going controlled. Right? Now, you're not necessarily going to kill anyone by doing that, but you're going to get them thinking. And you guys are going to know where they're at. And then we activate the air-to-airs. Say there's somebody there, we shoot at them. They go evasive, causing their guys in the back to be sick, more likely. And we make them think twice. But now we're coming around to engage again. They're engaging us. Right, so what I did there would be pre-deploying flares, and that would be when you get the lock-on alert coming up on your MFD here. Now, in this hover configuration, I can engage low level. That will happen, though. You're going to have to accept that. What I did there, I made a mistake, and I will learn from that. Now, that brings us onto the other, which is my less favourite ship to use, but it is vital you get to know it. The droid gunship. Now, it may look smaller, but theoretically it has the same hitbox design as the LAT. It does fly a little differently. A little hulking in the corner, it doesn't have the right turn radius as the LAT does, even though the LAT officially is a bigger, should be heavier vehicle. We're going to get in through the bottom entrance here. A couple of things you'll notice: cramped interior, your legs probably poking out from it. However, same basic layout apart from this, the main gun. So this has 3 weapons. So we've got the 2 side cannons on either side there, as well as these 2 door cannons in a way. And it has 1 main heavy gun, which realistically it doesn't have a great fire rate. But we can go for the main gun controls. And as you can see, the pilot has access to the main gun, which is hard to use in flight unless you are hovering. But even so, you can just let go like that. You don't need to hold anything. But other than that, it operates in the same basic terms. We throttle up like this. Now, it has all the same basics, but it flies in a totally different way. You can see the missiles there, they shoot more outwards. Great for engaging large groups, but a nightmare to engage any lone clone standing in your way. This is more of a troop transporter rather than the LAT. LAT is basically like a flying cannon or tank. Now, the main reason why those missiles fire super weirdly sideways like that is because if we come to a standstill, pitch the nose up a little, keep it level. Realistically, you want to get lower to the ground. So we're going to go over here, we're going to go a little lower. Alright, so it doesn't have a lot of them, but realistically what you'd use this thing for is side strafing like this. Or just going along the lines of the enemies like this. It has the same flare functions. Air-to-air rockets do the same thing. They fire off ridiculously sideways, so you're probably better off using this thing if you're able to get a lock on long range, and if the enemy pilot doesn't know where you're coming from. The only other thing with this is because you know it's got the same hitbox as the LAT, if you so much as tap the ground, even though it's a smaller profile ship, the end result is you're going to end up flipping it like a frying pan. So, but it is still a really nice ship. It's got a great nice outer view, you can actually see more, but that's its only real benefit. The LAT has much more functionality, its missiles will actually track a target, and because they fire at the right angle, which is dead ahead, they will immediately track rather than do a great big arc around you. Alright, so other thing is, we are not necessarily going to be a big squad. It keeps it a lot more simpler, keeps this whole thing sort of going. I'm not going to waffle on too much though, but you can see what I do in the cockpit when I'm coming into a land position. This might be uneven. We got a bit of a bounce there, we're going to take off again now. Alright, so we're going to try and land here by the droid spawn. Now, as landing, you are perfectly allowed to have a bit of bounce there. You're not always going to be perfect landing, but just remember, you gotta go in slow. If you think you're coming in too fast, pitch the nose up roughly about 5 degrees, increase power like this, and decrease it as you're coming down. That is also important for turning, which we are going to prove right now. We're going to go back up. In this case, it's perfectly a-okay to go full power and full tilt. Now, I'm going to show you something a little different though. So we're going to go full power. We're going to try and turn. you're going to notice a few things. Right, this is a full power turn. Very wide, very unstable, and it leaves you no reaction time. Especially if you're going in low. So we're going to cut power a little bit here, we're going to do a sharp turn, we're going to point the nose down, and we're going to go at the 45-degree angle. Now, this is why I have this function selected. So, we're going to come in, we're going to go half on power, and you'll notice immediately that you're going to have a sharper turn in circle. Always look to where your nose is going as well. That way you can look out for threats or look the direction that you want to go. It's about being sensible with your power as well, so keep hold of the throttle, pull up, and you can do things like that. But there are different kinds of flying and different kinds of pilots. So you got sensible pilots, people who won't do all the risky kind of stuff, but they will fly smart, they will play sensible, and they will also try and keep near to their squad mates. You got the aggressive kind, which is how I play a little bit. Engages the enemy, forward, front, will gladly take a hit from a couple of laser bolts. Or you got the conservative type, somebody who will necessarily just hang with their squad, observe, and only engage when it's absolutely necessary. Observers, though, they will fly around the field and do something like this. They'll keep an eye out on the ground, spot enemy movements, and if they're RTO trained, they will get onto the comms with another RTO member on the team, and they'll say enemy to your left, or in our terms, if we're talking with other pilots who are RTO trained but on ground, you can go enemy 220 on your right. So I think that basically covers a lot of the bases. A lot of the stuff I will recommend you guys spend roughly 10 to 20 minutes, you know, in your own time. Just do some crazy stuff. Pilots, we are meant to be a little crazy. I don't take things too seriously as well, so as long as you're respectful and treat others with respect, you guys can be a little goofy, have a little bit of fun, but once we get ahead in games like I am now, that's where you put your head on. So, I hope you enjoyed this little introductory video, and I am hoping that I will get to see you out there and flying. I'm going to come in for a nice shallow landing here though, not the best approach. Wing it. I always hated that gunshot.